Hi Lee,
Hey Kev, how you doing?
marvelous matey, great to see you again. So Lee, we were once again discussing what to talk about today, and yeah, one of the fundamentals from a coaching and training perspective, personally and in teams and in companies, is values. Very important. We both feel. I think we've both got a few things to say about that. So yeah, why don't you crack on and give us a start on what your take on values there, Lee?
Yeah, values. When you train as a coach, you realize how fundamentally important they are. It's kind of like a cornerstone of everything that you coach on top of.
Yeah.
But going back to my corporate career, values were perhaps um, bastardized, to use one word, or they were maybe not as authentic when they were company values. You might see them written on the wall of a meeting room, in fancy text. But then if you asked anyone in the management team or the leadership team, they'd struggle to really kind of remember what they were, maybe one or two of them. Values, when we obviously both trained as coaches, it suddenly kind of came to the forefront. For me, it's like my ego, and I have to push that kind of doubt from my corporate career kind of back, because I know how fundamentally important they are, to me. And
Yeah.
it's essentially, to simplify it, it's kind of what makes you tick, isn't it? It's kind of what you stand for.
Yeah.
And it's, when they get trodden on, don't you? When that person in the car behind you, or that person pushing on in front of you on a train, or the way someone behaves in a meeting or stuff like that. So for me, I kind of feel it's not fluffy. It's the fundamentals of what makes us who we are.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it now, and I must admit, I was very dismissive, maybe of a lot of different concepts when I was younger. It was just go, 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 drive, 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 make some money. And then I was one of those fundamental classic people who climbed to the top of my particular ladder and then realised it was leaning against the wrong wall. I was very happy with all the trappings. And I think fundamentally values are really are where we start at. And I kind of use them as a guide, and I try to think about them almost like a sort of moral compass, if you like, a way of thinking from a personal perspective. And I think that when you're developing a team or your company, you've got to kind of keep revisiting them. I mean, I think that my view is that values change as we change, and as companies change, and as your team evolves and does different things. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're all different chapters of our books, aren't we? It's kind of,
I like that. I like that concept. Yeah, chapters of our
yeah.
book. Very
I
good.
think I read about someone saying, and I think it was Jimmy Carr of all people, in his self-help book that he did, he kind of said every 15 years we're a different version of ourselves. And if we think, 0 to 15, kind of about to leave school, yeah, it's definitely one period.
Yeah.
15 to 30, then you're thinking about maybe some of the bigger life stages of that. 30 to 45, obviously what we're both in, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but that's
Oh, look,
another.
I'm just wondering where you're going with this, Lee.
Yeah. And yeah, but it's kind of you were different versions of ourselves, and certain things suddenly become more important to us as we go through real life stage kind of changing kind of times.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, just to give you an example, I mean, I like to keep it simple, and by the way, I love it, and you'll have to remind me, whose company values are simplicity,
Oh
simplicity,
well,
the
yeah, on
simple.
on the wall of Apple was
Yeah,
simplicity, 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 with two of them crossed out, wasn't
I
it?
love it. I love that. I just love that. I mean, I think it's hard to beat. I'm sure, answers on a postcard, please, if anybody's listening to this,
Yeah.
because I just love that. But for me, simplicity is one of my key values. So I keep them on my hand. If you're lucky enough to have three good friends, three values. So simplicity for me is that. I'm sure we've all had stressful times in our lives, times where we've been overwhelmed. For me, I like to have simplicity there. I want things to be as simple as possible. That doesn't mean there isn't complexity in my life or I don't get involved in complex projects. You do, but I just like to come back to that. It helps me roll back to to simplicity. I also put honesty up there, which a lot of people think, oh, well, you must have been quite duplicitous or, a bit of a liar. Nothing be further from the truth. Having said that, when I made honesty one of my stalwarts, it's actually very difficult to be completely true to that, because there's always the odd little white lie. You might tell a little fib because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And I think I still do that to a certain extent, but I really want to put honesty up there. As I say, if you're gonna lie, honesty is the best thing to remember. My memory is not very good, so I kind of keep that up there. And then my last thing is probably coming from that background of working for myself all the time is autonomy. And for me, it's very important to have a contract with myself that that my time, I value my time and I value what I do. And I want to be able to do the things I want to be able to do. Now, of course, there are things I have to do for clients, and there are deadlines, etc. But I still want to have that autonomy. Maybe with the people I work with and the kind of things I do. So I'm happy with that. So that's my take. Just from a personal perspective on values, and that can obviously easily be put forward as we do with the training on leadership and teams. It's important. It helps form towards the purpose. So.
Yeah, that's it. And I think you said earlier, you said about, kind of gauging where you are and how you're kind of performing or living your values. And that can be really nice, can't it? In terms of you score yourself out of 10, where would you say you are being on, independence or autonomy or caring or open or honest or things like that? Because we can always do that. And helping them live on is great. The best example I had working at a large kind of media network, we had some people come in and help us with our department values. And what they said was, well, how it's all well and good sticking them on a mouse mat or a t-shirt or a mug, but how do you make them live on? And we embedded them into the appraisals, so it was kind of like bravery was one of them. You say, right, how have you been brave in this last year? And that could be applying for new business or presenting or confidence or getting the clients to spend money or whatever it might be. So yeah, how you're scoring against your personal ones. And if it's a work one where we're training companies to say, you need, core values and how you perform against them. Yeah, how do you make them relevant and how do you make them kind of live on? So yeah, it's a great subject, isn't it? It's I love to, in the training that we do around leadership, I love to get people to kind of what they stand for, what makes them tick, and their leadership styles. Quite often they're sprinkling some of these values in to there. So it's not just sprinkling values onto CVs or LinkedIn profiles or things like that, but it's like your style at work. If you're open and honest and all of the above, then yeah, tell people that and have that style and tell people that is your style and that's how you're going to manage them.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think also it can be aspirational, can't it? It's a little bit like goal setting. Who do you want to be? What's the best you? Think of yourself as your best advert, and who do you really want to be? And I think your values can help pull you through. We say we're driving to our goals. We want to be pulled to our goals, and I think our values help pull us through to be the person we really want to be. So it may be that you're not the most patient person in the world, but if you think to yourself, do you know what, I admire patient people, and I think it would benefit me or benefit my team if I was more patient, or patiently trying to understand things, then I think that's great, and I think values do that, and that's why I think they're so important. Okay, well I've pretty much sort of said what I wanted to say at the moment. Lee, was there anything else you wanted to say in closing about the values?
No, I think kind of all done and dusted. They're the cornerstone of kind of who we are and what we do. And they bleed into attributes and then there's skills and strengths and transferable strengths and all of that. So it's a brilliant place to start, from one of our first of our few of our videos.
Yeah, beautifully said, Lee. Thanks very much. It's goodbye from me, Kevin.
See you soon, mate. Bye bye.